Story 1. Man in the Window. Hey there, you brave souls huddled around your screens. Welcome back to the dark side of the night. We've been clawing our way through some wild tales tonight, and I've saved the creepiest for last. And let me tell you, I peeked at it earlier, and it's the kind of story that sticks to your ribs like a cold fog. It's got that shiver down your spine magic, and I'm betting it'll haunt you as much as it's haunting me right now. So, grab something warm, dim the lights, and let's sink into this together. No turning back now. Picture this. I'm 15, and my family's just dragged me to this old, sagging house on the edge of Bangor, Maine. Not the postcard pretty part of town. No. This is where the streets fade into dirt, and the trees lean in like they're whispering secrets. The place wasn't haunted, not in the way you'd expect. No ghost stories floating around, no old newspaper clippings about murders or mayhem. It was just off. The kind of off where the air feels thick, like it's watching you back. My room was up on the second floor, tucked away with a window that stared out over the backyard. Out there, it was a mess. Wild grass twisting up to your knees, and this rusty swing set squatting in the middle, left behind by whoever lived here before us. Beyond that, nothing but woods, dark, endless woods that swallowed the horizon whole. You'd stand there, staring into that green-black tangle, and swear something was staring back, even when the sun was high. The first time I saw him, it was deep in the witching hour, around 2 a.m., when the world's too quiet and your thoughts get loud. I couldn't sleep, sprawled across my bed, the blue glow of my phone lighting up my face. I was scrolling through dumb memes trying to shake off the restless itch in my bones when this feeling hit me. You know it. That heavy, sinking dread, like someone's pinned their eyes on you and won't let go. My window was cracked open just a sliver, letting in that crisp Maine chill, and the night air carried this faint hum, like the woods were breathing. I should have ignored it. Should have kept my head down, but nope. I got that stupid urge to look. There he was, just past the swing set, standing half in the shadows where the trees swallowed the moonlight. A man, or at least something shaped like one, rooted to the spot, facing my window. He didn't move, didn't sway, just stood there, stiff as a scarecrow, his outline cutting through the dark. Even from up in my room, I could tell something was wrong with him. His posture was too tight, too still, like he'd been carved out of the night itself. I stared, my breath catching in my throat, my brain scrambling for anything that made sense. Maybe some guy wandering through. Maybe my eyes playing tricks. But the longer I looked, the more that excuse fell apart. He wasn't right. He wasn't human, not fully. Then he moved, or glitched, I guess you'd call it. Not a normal step, not the way you or I would shuffle forward. His body jerked like a puppet on frayed strings, sliding a few feet closer in a blink. Then again, closer still. His arms didn't swing, his legs didn't bend. He just flickered nearer like some messed up stop-motion nightmare. My heart slammed against my ribs and I lunged for the window, slamming it shut so hard the frame rattled. I yanked the blinds down, nearly tearing them off the wall, and stumbled back, panting like I'd run a mile. Sleep? Yeah, right. I sat there in the dark, knees pulled up, listening to my own heartbeat thump against the silence, waiting for the sun to chase that thing away. Morning rolled in, gray and sluggish, and I spilled the whole thing to my mom, Sarah. She was in the kitchen, sipping coffee, half listening as I rambled about the guy or whatever he was. She just chuckled, brushing it off. Probably a deer, kiddo, she said, stirring sugar into her mug. Or your imagination's working overtime again. I wanted to believe her, wanted to laugh it off too, but her words felt hollow. I'd seen deer plenty, those long legs, that twitchy grace. This wasn't that. Still, I let it go, or tried to. The days stretched out and nothing happened. No more midnight visitors. No weird vibes. I started convincing myself I'd dreamed it, that the shadows in my tired eyes had cooked up a ghost story all on their own. But then the little things started piling up, the kind of stuff you can't shake off with a shrug. I'd wake up to my window cracked open, just an inch, when I knew I'd locked it tight before bed. I'd catch the swing set out back swaying, slow and lazy, on days so still you couldn't coax a breeze if you begged. And that feeling, being watched, it clung to me like damp rot, even when the sun was blazing and the woods looked harmless. I'd stand at that window sometimes, daring myself to look, but the courage always fizzled out. Something was out there, and it wasn't done with me. Then came the scratching. It hit one night around 3 a.m., pulling me out of a shallow sleep. It was faint at first, slow, deliberate, like nails dragging across the glass in a lazy crawl. Not loud enough to wake the house, just enough to make my eyes snap open and my skin prickle. I laid there, stiff as a board, staring at the ceiling, every muscle locked tight. I told myself it was nothing, a branch, a stray cat, anything normal. But deep down, I knew better. There's no tree near my window, no way for anything to reach that high. It scratched for maybe a minute, then stopped, leaving the silence heavier than before. I didn't dare look. Morning came and I checked the glass. Long, thin marks streaked across it, like someone's fingernails had scratched out a hello. That night I didn't even pretend to sleep. I sat up, back against the wall, eyes locked on that window like a hunter waiting for prey. The clock ticked past midnight, then 1, then 2, nothing. But right at 3 a.m., it started again, those slow, taunting scratches like it was toying with me. My heart was a jackhammer, pounding so loud I could barely hear the sound over it. I gripped my blanket, sweat beading on my forehead, and then, oh God, there was a whisper, soft and close, right outside the pane. Let me in. It wasn't loud, wasn't angry, just calm, like it knew I'd hear it. I don't know if I screamed or just bolted. Next thing I remember, I was in my parents' room, shaking like a leaf, stammering it all out. My dad, James, grabbed a flashlight and stomped outside, grumbling about raccoons or kids messing around. He came back empty-handed. No footprints in the soft dirt, no snapped twigs, nothing to prove I wasn't losing it. But I saw his face. He looked rattled, even if he wouldn't say it. We moved 2 months later, packed up and hauled ass to Portland, Maine. Sarah and James never admitted they believed me, but I saw the signs. In those last weeks in Bangor, James started keeping a gun by his bed, checking the locks twice before turning in. Sarah stopped opening the windows at night, even when the summer heat pressed in. They felt it too, I know they did. I still don't know what that thing was, don't know what it wanted from me. Was it a man? A ghost? Something worse? I've got no answers. But sometimes when I'm alone and the night stretches too quiet, I hear it. That faint, patient scratching, like it's still out there, waiting for me to crack the window and let it in. Story 2. The Dead Cat Story. This story comes from a guy I'll call Ethan. He sent it in, swears it's true, and I have no reason to doubt him. It has a rough, rugged edge, like he deleted it in a hurry and didn't look back. He doesn't like writing, says his grammar is a mess, and he's pretty sure he never posted it on Reddit or those other ghostly forums years ago. If he did, it's long since lost in the mists of his memory. So settle down. Let's pull back the curtain on this story together. Imagine Ethan, early 20s, holed up in a creaky little house on the outskirts of Salem, Oregon. It's the kind of place where the trees crowd too close, their branches tapping the windows like bony fingers, and the nights stretch out long and quiet, too quiet. Ethan's always been hooked on the weird stuff, the kind of books you don't read in the daylight. Crowley's rants, old occult scribblings, pages that smell like dust and danger. He's got a favorite poison, necromancy. Yeah, the real black stuff. Yanking the dead back into the land of the living, whispering to souls that should have stayed silent. He's convinced he's got a knack for it, says he's been seeing spirits since he was a kid. Not a parade of them, mind you, just one, a tall hulking shadow that dogs his steps like a loyal curse. He knows its name, but he keeps it locked up tight, only letting it slip to his mom, dad, and brother in hushed tones. Then one day, the house gets heavy with grief. His mom's cat, a scruffy gray tabby named Jasper, drops dead. Old age had been gnawing at him, sickness too, and he'd been fading for weeks, limping around, eyes cloudy, until he just curled up on the kitchen floor and didn't move again. Ethan's mom, Linda, is a wreck, sobbing into her hands, her heart breaking over that little furball. But Ethan, he's not crying. He's thinking. 3 hours pass, Jasper's stiff and cold, and Ethan gets this wild itch. He's read the books, chanted the words in his head 100 times. Why not try it? Why not see if he can pull Jasper back from the other side? So, he sneaks the cat's body into his room, locks the door, and dims the lights. The air feels thick, like it's pressing in on him, and he starts muttering. Half-remembered incantations, guttural sounds he's pieced together from those forbidden pages. His voice shakes at first, but he pushes through, the room growing colder, the shadows stretching longer. Then it happens. Jasper twitches. Not some little death spasm. No, this is violent. A full body jerk like something's clawing its way inside him. Ethan's pulse races, a mix of thrill and terror, as the cat flops back and forth on the floor, paws kicking at nothing. It's alive, but it's wrong, so damn wrong. And then there's this sound. Not a meow, not anything Jasper ever made. It's a growl, deep and dark, rolling out of the cat like thunder from a storm you can't see. It's not coming from his mouth. That's shut tight, lips curled back over teeth. But from somewhere inside his chest, a rumbling snarl that feels alive, hateful. Ethan's family hears it too. Linda's pounding on the door, yelling his name, his brother shouting something he can't make out. But he's too deep in it now, too stunned to stop. Jasper's eyes flick open, dull and glassy, staring at nothing, and that growl gets louder, climbing up his throat like it's trying to break free. It's not a cat anymore. It's something else. Something Ethan's called up from a place he shouldn't have touched. Panic hits him like a freight train. This isn't what he wanted. Not this twisted, thrashing thing wearing Jasper's skin. His hands tremble as he stumbles over the words to undo it, to shove whatever he's unleashed back into the dark. The jerking stops. Jasper goes limp, dead again. But that growl, it doesn't quit. It lingers, low and mean, echoing through the house for hours, seeping into the walls like a stain. The door flies open, and there's his dad, Michael, storming in, eyes wide, face pale as death. Michael's no stranger to this stuff. He dabbled in the occult back in his wild days before turning to God and swearing it off. He takes one look at Ethan, at the cat sprawled out like a broken toy, and his voice drops to a growl of his own. "You've gone too far, son," he says, fists clenched. "You ever do this again, you're out. I won't let this evil live here." Ethan just nods, mute, the weight of it all crashing down. The room feels different after that, darker, like the lights scared to stick around. They don't talk about it much, but the house changes. That little bedroom where Ethan played God, it's cursed now, or close enough. Over the years, friends crash there, cousins too, 4 different people, and every one of them says the same thing. It's suffocating, terrifying, like the shadows are thicker than they should be. Lamps don't help, open windows don't either. It's always dark, always heavy, like that thing he called up never really left. And life, it falls apart, slow and brutal. A few years later, Ethan nearly dies, some freak medical thing, so rare the doctors shrug and almost send him home to rot. He prays, desperate, clawing at faith he didn't know he had, and somehow pulls through. Then Michael gets lung cancer, wasting away in that same cursed house. Ethan tries to save him, hands shaking as he claws at his dad's throat to clear it. But it's no use. Michael's gone, breath rattling out in a room that still hums with that old growl. Not long after, Linda falls, breaks her hip, and a blood clot snatches her away a month later, thanks to a doctor who screws up her meds and wipes the records like it never happened. Ethan's alone now, 42. The house sold off to some guy in Salem who walks in, feels the air, and mutters, "This place is coming down. It's too damn heavy." Then there's Rachel, his ex, the one he loved fierce and wild, the one he could never keep. She dies of cancer too, November 24th last year, and no one tells him. He finds out when he texts her, words bouncing into the void, and realizes she's gone. No goodbye, no nothing. "If you know how to shake this," he writes, voice breaking through the page, "tell me. I'm scared, and I'm running out of pieces to lose." That's where he leaves us, and I'm sitting here, goosebumps prickling my arms. What do you think? Is Ethan cursed, or did he crack that day in Salem? Drop your thoughts below, I need to hear it. And if you've got a story chewing at your soul, send it in. We're just warming up. Story 3, The Forest Figure Story. Hey, thrill seekers! Welcome back to the dark side of the night, where stories get under your skin and refuse to let go. We're diving into another subscriber-submitted nightmare tonight, and this one has the raw, unshakable chill I know you're here for. It comes from one of your brave souls. No names, so we'll keep it raw and unfiltered, just as it landed in my inbox. I like these long, winding stories, the ones that unfold slowly and stealthily. So if you've got something brewing in your head, don't hold back. Send it my way as long as you want, as creepy as you can. Let's keep this fire burning, okay? Leave a comment if you're intrigued, and let's sink our teeth into this story together. Picture this. It's 2016, and I'm 11 years old, living in a little house on the edge of Lebanon, Tennessee. My mom's pregnant, belly round as a moon, and our old place, a cramped 2-bedroom deal, is bursting at the seams with me and my brother, Tyler, sharing a room that smells like sweat and old socks. So, we move, not far, just out past the city limits, where the houses thin out and the land opens up wide and wild. Our new spot's a lonely one, sitting by itself with nothing but fields and trees for miles, like it's hiding from the world. When we roll up that first day, I'm buzzing. 17 acres of our own, a scruffy garden out back, and this massive forest sprawling behind the house, dark and tangled and calling my name. My bedroom's got a window that looks right out over it, the kind of view that makes you feel small, like the woods are sizing you up. Me and Tyler, he's 15 and full of big brother swagger. We're out there every day, tearing through the grass, chasing each other into the trees until the sun dips low. It's our kingdom, all sticks and dirt and secrets, and we love it. Until one summer evening changes everything. It's late, but the sky's still got that soft, golden glow. Not dark yet, just lazy. We're restless, itching to push farther than usual, and Tyler gets this gleam in his eye. "Let's check out the other side of the grass bank," he says, nodding toward the trees where they scatter out wild and messy. It's hard to see what's over there. Branches twist together like a wall. But he's grinning, promising it'll be fun, swearing he'll keep me safe. I shrug, tagging along, my sneakers crunching the dry earth as we wander over. We're poking around, kicking at rocks when I spot it. A bag, old and weathered, slumped open on a rotting log. Stuff's spilling out, a box of pills, crusty and faded. A plastic tub crawling with maggots, some kind of berries gone bad inside, and a little can of Coke, unopened, glinting in the light. Tyler crouches down, poking at it with a stick, and starts spinning this spooky tale about some hermit living out here, watching us from the shadows. He's teasing, like always, trying to get under my skin, and it works a little. My stomach twists, but I roll my eyes and shove him off. He's always dragging me out here when Mom and Dad start yelling downstairs, their voices sharp through the thin walls. I know he's shielding me, even if he doesn't say it, and I don't want to head back to that noise yet. So we keep going, deeper into the trees. We're out there maybe 10 minutes, the light fading slow when this feeling hits me, like a cold hand brushing my neck. It's not just kid nerves, it's real, heavy, like someone's staring right through me, peeling me apart. I freeze, breath hitching, and mumble to Tyler, "You feel that?" He's ahead of me, kicking at a stump, and he just laughs it off. "You're fine, quit spooking yourself," he says, waving me on. But it doesn't let up, it gets worse. Goosebumps prickling up my arms, a shiver clawing down my spine. I'm about to argue when Tyler's head snaps up, eyes darting over my shoulder, and his face changes, pale, tight. He grabs my hand hard and mutt GC says, "Fine, come on, let's go," dragging me back toward the bank. I stumble after him, heart thumping as we scramble up the slope. He's moving fast now, almost frantic, and when we hit the little wire fence at the top, he practically throws me over it, lunging after me like something's snapping at his heels. I've never seen him like this. Tyler's the tough one, the one who laughs at storms. Panting, I risk a glance back, and there it is, a figure, dark and blurry, standing just behind a tree down in the hollow. It's tall, shadowy, no face I can make out, just watching us. Or maybe not, it's hard to tell in the fading light. My stomach drops and I lock eyes with it for a split second before it slides behind the trunk, smooth and silent, like it was never there. I blink and it's gone. We don't talk about it back at the house. Tyler just shrugs and says, It was probably nothing, but his voice is too tight, too quick. After that night, though, I can't shake it. I start seeing that figure from my window, late when the house is quiet and the woods turn black. It's always there, just at the edge, a smudge against the trees, watching. Then the noises start, scratching, faint and sharp, against my third-floor window, where nothing should reach. Banging sometimes, too, like fists on glass, waking me up with my heart in my throat. I'd lie there, blankets pulled tight, telling myself it's squirrels or wind, but I know better. Whatever's out there, it followed us home that day, and it's not letting go. Story 4, The Chupacabra Story. Hey, you brave souls out there. Welcome back to the dark heart of the night where the shadows don't play nice. We're rolling on with another tale straight from one of you, the fearless folks who keep my inbox buzzing with the weird and wild. This one's tied to that first story we cracked open. You remember Ethan, the guy from Salem with the dead cat and the curse? Yeah, he's back, and he's got another slice of his messed up life to share. This time it's short, sharp, and dripping with that kind of chill that makes you double-check your windows. So, settle in, keep the lights low, and let's see what's lurking out there in the Texas dark. Imagine Ethan again, still reeling from that necromancy mess years back, now crashing in a little house on the edge of Austin, Texas. It's not some fancy spot, just a squat, weathered place with a sagging porch and a backyard that butts up against a scraggly patch of trees and brush. The kind of neighborhood where raccoons rummage through your trash and the streetlights flicker like they're half asleep. He's older now, mid-20s maybe, but that shadow figure's still trailing him, a tall, silent smear in the corner of his eye. Life's been rough since the cat incident. His family's fraying, his luck's sour, and he's starting to wonder if he broke something bigger than he meant to that day. It's around 2019, and he's up late one night, restless, pacing the kitchen with a glass of water in hand. The house is quiet, just the hum of the fridge and the occasional creak of the floorboards settling. He glances out the kitchen window. Nothing special out there, just the backyard sloping down into the dark, a few bushes rustling in the breeze. At first, he thinks it's one of those damn raccoons again, rooting around near the fence. He squints, leaning closer to the glass. And there it is. Something moving, hunched over like it's sniffing the ground. Just a critter, he mutters to himself, trying to shake the unease creeping up his neck. Austin's crawling with raccoons, right? No big deal. But then it shifts, and he gets a better look. Those red eyes catch the moonlight, glowing like embers in a dead fire, and his stomach twists. This ain't no raccoon. He locks onto it, those eyes staring right back, and the more he looks, the less it makes sense. It's hairless, skin gray and rough, stretched tight over a frame that's too wiry, too wrong. Kinda like a chimp, but leaner, meaner, with muscles that ripple under the surface like it could rip him apart if it wanted. It's got a snout, short and stubby, not long like a dog's, not quite right for anything he's ever seen. And it's hunched low, those human-like hands brushing the dirt. Ethan's brain stumbles, screaming, "This can't be real," like he's hallucinating or stroking out. But those eyes, they're too alive, too evil, pinning him where he stands. He yells for his brother, David, who's crashed on the couch in the living room. "Get in here, man," he shouts, voice cracking, never taking his eyes off it. David groans, half asleep, muttering, "Why?" What's up? Ethan's screaming now. Just get the hell in here. But David's slow, dragging his feet, still asking why, like it's a game. It's not like him. He's usually quick when Ethan's freaking out. But tonight, he's molasses, and Ethan's losing it. Get your ass in here, he roars, lungs burning, and finally, David shuffles in, rubbing his eyes. But Ethan makes the mistake. He glances away just for a second, furious at David's dawdling, and when he looks back, it's gone. Vanished. Not a rustle, not a trace, like it melted into the night air. He's shaking now, turning on David, yelling about how he should have moved faster, how he only hollers like that when it's bad. Real bad. David's wide awake now, staring out the window into the empty dark, but there's nothing to see. Ethan spills it all. The red eyes, the freaky chimp thing, the way it felt like pure evil staring him down, and David just nods, quiet, like he believes it but doesn't want to say it out loud. They don't sleep much that night, sitting up with the lights on, jumping at every creak. Ethan can't shake the feeling that it wasn't just some random creature, that it's tied to him, to what he did back in Salem, to that growl he let loose years ago. Things get worse after that. A year later, 2020 rolls in, and his mom, Linda, falls, breaks her hip, and a blood clot takes her out fast, leaving Ethan hollowed out. He's alone in that Austin house now, the backyard stretching out like a trap waiting to spring. He keeps thinking about that thing, those eyes, wondering if it was a demon, a chupacabra, something older and meaner. It had some scruffy hair around its neck, a little down its back, but the rest was bare, gray, wrong. Not mange, not sickness, just unnatural. He swears it wasn't a raccoon, wasn't anything normal. Those hands, that stare, they stick with him, gnawing at his sleep. He's writing this down now, years later, still rattled, still asking what it was. If it's following me, he says, I don't know how to stop it. And I'm sitting here, chills running down my arms, wondering the same damn thing. What do you think, huh? Demon, myth, something Ethan dragged out of the dark himself. Drop your thoughts below. I need to hear it. And if you've got a story clawing at you, send it in. We're nowhere near done yet. Story 5. The Shadow Watcher Story. Hey, you night owls and thrill hunters. Welcome back to the edge of the dark where the weird stuff lives. We're digging into another subscriber-submitted nightmare tonight, and this one's got that slow burn creepiness that sticks to you like damp fog. It's from a guy who calls himself JC, says my videos helped him wrestle with this memory, and I'm honored to share it. He's got dyslexia, so he's cool with me smoothing it out a bit, but I'm keeping it real, just how he sent it. You know I love these raw, personal tales, so if you've got something haunting you, send it my way. I'll give it a voice. Let's keep this rolling. Drop a comment if you're feeling it, and let's get lost in JC's world. Picture JC, a kid in 7th grade, living in a little house on the west side of Tacoma, Washington. It's a quiet spot, pressed up against a strip mall with a burger joint that keeps its lights blazing all night. Cheap security for a guy too broke for fancy cameras. JC's always been a believer in the weird stuff. Ghosts, gut feelings, the kind of instincts that prick your skin when something's off. He calls it his Gibbs gut, like that old NCIS show, and it saved his ass more than once. This particular night, he's sleeping funny, curled up at the foot of his bed, head where his feet should be, blankets tangled around him like a cocoon. He's out cold, dreaming nothing, when bam, he's awake. Not that groggy, half-there wake up either. It's instant, like someone flipped a switch in his brain. He blinks into the dark, heart thumping for no reason he can name, and figures maybe he's got to pee. So, he shuffles to the bathroom, the house creaking under his socks, and splashes some water on his face to shake the fuzz. Back in his room, he flops onto the bed, facing the window. Blinds down, slats casting thin stripes of light from the burger joint across the wall. That's when he sees it. A shadow darts across the glass, quick and sharp, like someone ran past outside. It's human-shaped, maybe 5 feet tall, bald head, pointy ears sticking out like a goblin's. JC freezes, breath caught in his throat, staring at the empty blinds. The light's steady now, no movement, but his skin's crawling, that gut feeling screaming at him to move. He doesn't, though. He just rolls over, squeezes his eyes shut, and wills himself back to sleep. Like if he ignores it, it'll go away. Morning comes, gray and cold over Tacoma, and he's up, rubbing his eyes, muttering, "What the hell was that?" He's had nightmares before, bad ones that used to wake him screaming as a kid, but this wasn't that. His brain gave up on dreams years ago, or at least he doesn't remember them, and this felt too real, too sharp. He checks the window, half expecting scratches or smudges, but it's clean, the backyard empty except for a stray cat slinking past. He shakes it off, tells himself it was a trick of the light, maybe some drunk stumbling home from the bar down the street. But deep down, he knows better. Fast forward a few years, JC's a sophomore in high school now, still in Tacoma, tougher around the edges. He's joined the junior ROTC, that military training thing for kids who like marching and yelling. Freshman year was a slog, but he's stuck with it, and now he's signed up for this cadet leadership gig. 4 days at Joint Base Lewis McChord, a sprawling supply dump half an hour out of town. It's a mix of boot camp light and leadership pep talks, all sharp whistles and sore legs, and JC's thrown in with a pack of other cadets, bunking in barracks that smell like sweat and pine cleaner. They settle into a rhythm, up at 5 a.m., running drills, choking down mess hall grub. But JC's off-kilter from day one. Every morning, like clockwork, he's awake at 4, eyes snapping open in the dark, that same heavy feeling pressing on his chest. It's not just him, either. The barracks are quiet at that hour, the world outside still black. But he hears the others stirring, whispers, creaks of bunks as kids sit up, wide awake. They start talking about it over breakfast, hushed and twitchy, swapping stories about this nagging sense that something's out there, watching, waiting for them to step into the open. JC nods along, his own gut twisting, that Gibbs instinct flaring up again. The base is huge, acres of concrete and forest, not all of it fenced off, supply trucks rumbling in and out. And it's easy to imagine something slipping through the gaps, lurking just past the floodlights. They don't tell the instructors. Military types don't mess with ghost stories. But it binds them, this shared unease, like they've all seen the same shadow. Those 4 days drag on, each morning kicking off with that 4 a.m. jolt, that feeling of eyes in the dark. JC keeps his head down, marches through the drills, but he's counting the hours till they're out. When it's over, he piles into the bus back to Tacoma, relief washing over him like cool water. The weight's gone, the watchers stayed behind. He goes back for another round senior year, same base, same barracks. But it's different. No early wake-ups, no creeping dread. Whatever it was, it didn't follow him, didn't stick. He's left wondering, though. Was it tied to that night in 7th grade, that bald-headed thing outside his window? Or just some weird echo of too many nights alone? That's where JC leaves it, and I'm sitting here, goosebumps prickling my arms. What do you think? Something real stalking him, or just a kid's mind playing tricks? Drop your thoughts below. I'm dying to know. And if you've got a story itching to get out, send it in. We're still deep in the dark here,